This case is terrifying because it's true. In 2017, a boy went missing in the woods and was never seen again. His name was Derek Rabar Brown, and he was only 16 at the time. He lived with his parents and two sisters in a small town in Texas. The family had recently moved there from Colorado, so Derek didn't know many people in town. But one day, wanting to explore his new surroundings, he decided to take a walk in the woods near his home, and that's where he disappeared. For the first few days after Derek went missing, the police were optimistic that they would find him. They organized multiple search parties and followed up on numerous tips from the public. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, it became clear that they weren't going to find Derek anytime soon. They even offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to his whereabouts, but nobody came forward with anything useful. Derek's parents never gave up hope that he would be found alive. They continued to search for him in the woods every day and put up billboards along the highway in hopes of getting someone's attention. But it wasn't until 5 years after he vanished that anything new happened in the case. In January 2022, a hunter who was out in the woods near where Derek had disappeared stumbled across a backpack that looked similar to the one Derek had been carrying the day he vanished. He took the backpack to the police, and they confirmed that it belonged to Derek. But that was the only new piece of information in the case for another year. Then in January 2023, a man walking his dog in the same woods came across something even more shocking: human bones. The police were called and they confirmed that the bones were from Derek. But how did he die? How did he end up in the woods? And, most importantly, why did he have no memory of the last 5 years of his life? The police interviewed everyone in Derek's life: friends, family, teachers, co-workers, but nobody had any new information. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The only theory the police had was that Derek had run away from home, and that's why nobody had seen him in 5 years. But this didn't make sense to me. Why would a 16-year-old kid run away from home and then not contact his family or friends for 5 years? And why would he have no memory of the last 5 years of his life? I decided to look into this case further, and I found some really disturbing things. For starters, there were no signs of forced entry at the Brown family home, which means that Derek probably left the house willingly. But what could have possibly made him leave without telling anyone where he was going? Was he planning on coming back home, or was he gone for good? It turns out that Derek had been bullied at school, and that he had even been suspended for fighting with another student. Maybe he had gotten into a fight with the same kid and had run away to escape the bullies. But this still doesn't explain why he wouldn't remember the last 5 years of his life. The police searched Derek's room and found a diary that he had been keeping. In it, they found an entry from the day he disappeared, and in the entry, he talked about how much he hated his life and how he wished he could just disappear. Could this mean that Derek had taken his own life, and that's why there was no sign of forced entry at the house? But if he had taken his own life, why would his body have been found in the woods instead of his backyard or in a nearby lake? There are so many unanswered questions in this case, and it's driving me crazy. What do you think happened to Derek? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. What makes this case extra disturbing is that Derek's parents never gave up hope that he would be found alive, even though most people thought he was dead. They continued to search for him in the woods every day for years, and it was only when his body was found that they finally stopped. When Derek's body was returned to his family, they took him to be but the autopsy didn't reveal anything new. It couldn't tell them how long Derek had been dead or what had caused his death. All it said was that he had died from blunt force trauma. To this day, Derek's family is still searching for answers. They don't know what happened to him or why he had no memory of the last 5 years of his life. If you know anything about this case, please contact the police. This family deserves answers. Thanks for watching. Something very strange is happening in our city. 3 children have gone missing just in the last month. All 3 were aged between 9 and 11 years old, and all 3 vanished after leaving for school and never returning. The police are baffled. They've conducted searches and followed every lead, but the children's whereabouts remain unknown. And now fear is gripping the city. Parents are terrified to let their kids go to school alone. Some have even resorted to picking their children up and dropping them off at the school gates. But that is not an option for me. My daughter is 10 years old and I carry and pick her up and drop her off every day. I have work. And even if I could, I wouldn't. I would have to trust that other people as parents are undoing the same, and that my daughter wouldn't be left waiting around all day for me. The police have offered a reward of £10,000 for any information that helps to locate the children. But so far, nothing has come of it. The media have dubbed the case the Vanishing Triangle because 2 of the children went missing from the same primary school. The 3rd child went missing from a secondary school about 2 miles away. The police believe that the cases are linked, but they're keeping an open mind. As the weeks passed with no answers, the police presence in the town increased. There were uniformed officers and detectives in every park, every street, and every alleyway. Even the local pond was drained in the hope that one of the children might be found at the bottom of it. But it was all in vain. One afternoon, I was sitting in my office when the phone rang. It was the police. They had a lead on one of the cases, they said, and they wanted me to come down to the station and identify the person they had in custody. I didn't know whether it was Daniel. He was the only one of the 3 children who had been missing longer than a week. I jumped into my car and raced to the station. When I got there, an officer was waiting for me. "Sorry to keep you waiting," he said. "It's good news, I hope." He led me through a maze of corridors until we came to an open doorway. Behind the yellow police tape sat a man and a woman. Both were sitting with their backs to me, their heads resting on the table. The officer told me to approach slowly and then to speak. "Daniel," I said tentatively. "Daniel, is that you?" The man lifted his head. His face was pale and drawn, his eyes vacant. He wasn't smiling. That would have been the biggest relief, to see him smiling. But he wasn't. Instead, he looked like a corpse. I stared at him in disbelief. "But you're dead," I whispered. "You're supposed to be dead." The officer reached out and gripped my arm. "It's okay," he said gently. "It's going to be all right." I turned back to the man. "Why are you here?" I asked. "Where's Daniel?" The man didn't reply. Instead, he looked past me at the woman whose head was still resting on the table. The officer laid a hand on my shoulder. "Ma'am, please don't make this any harder than it has to be. Come with me now and we'll explain everything." I allowed them to lead me away, but I couldn't take my eyes off the man. He was still staring at the table, a look of utter despair on his face. They took me to another room, a small, dingy office with peeling wallpaper and a threadbare carpet. The door was closed, the blinds were shut, and the only light came from the harsh fluorescent bulb overhead. The officer sat me down in a chair and introduced himself. "I'm Detective Inspector Davies," he said, "and I'm sorry, but this is going to be difficult to explain." He told me that Daniel was dead. He had been the man I had seen in the other room was his father. The woman was his mother. "How?" I whispered. "How could this be happening? I saw him just yesterday. He was fine. He was laughing and joking. He was looking forward to school. He wanted to show me the new football boots he'd got for Christmas." The detective leaned forward. "Mrs. James," he said quietly, "your daughter is next." I gasped. "What do you mean?" The detective stood up. "I'm afraid it's time for you to go home, ma'am. You must get out of this town." As I stumbled out of the station, the detective's words echoed in my ears. "My daughter is next." What did he mean? How is this possible? What has happened to Daniel? I needed answers, but the police weren't willing to give them. That night I lay in bed listening to the rain lash against the window. Every creak of the house, every sigh of wind sent a fresh jolt of fear through me. What did the detective mean when he said my daughter is next? Was she in danger? Was that why they wanted me to leave town? I tried to call the station, but my calls were not being screened. I knew then that they were protecting me, shielding me from something I didn't want to see. In the morning, I drove into town. I parked the car and walked to the nearest shop. On the television, a news report flickered. The headline read, Another child goes missing. Beneath it, the anchorman's face swam in and out of focus. I could hear him speaking, but his words meant nothing to me. I was numb. I could feel my heart beating in my chest. I could feel the blood pounding in my ears. I could feel the cold sweat trickling down my back. Then I screamed,